Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of China Update, where I provide you with the most up-to-date political, economic, and geostrategic analysis on the world's number 2 economy. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. We normally have Sundays off, but there is so much to cover that I'm making this extra video today. A recent new viral outbreak in China of HMPV has sparked global concern, with neighboring countries, especially India, closely monitoring its spread. Yesterday we discussed the concerning reports that China is seeing an explosion of new viral cases, as well as unconfirmed reports that some hospitals are overwhelmed and that crematoriums and funeral homes are struggling to cope with increased demand. At this point, there is a lot of speculation, and with memories of COVID fresh in our minds, it's an environment rife for sensationalism and jumping prematurely to conclusions. Even many of the videos which are being circulated online are difficult to verify. They could be from this week, or they could be from when China abandoned zero COVID at the end of 2022 and the beginning of 2023. We cannot be sure. Due to the opaque nature of China's system and the sensitivity of all this, we are quite blind on the ground as well. We do not know whether this is the beginning of a new outbreak or simply just the winter flu season. Now, I've visited several hospitals here in central China over the last 24 hours. While they are busy, I would not describe them as being overwhelmed. I also spoke to 3 contacts in northern China, 2 doctors and 1 surgeon in a military hospital, so 3 separate hospitals between the 3 of them. All 3 said that they've seen a jump in patients with flu symptoms, but they wouldn't characterize the situation as overwhelming. Now, these are just anecdotal data points and as such cannot be representative. I'm just sharing them here for some context. Should we be worried? Well, several countries are watching the situation very closely, so we should take the situation seriously. But there is currently not enough verified evidence to suggest we need to worry at this point. Indeed, while the internet seems to be on the 2 extremes of 1, it's a new pandemic, or 2, it's a fake news psyop, the best way forward, I would humbly submit, is to cautiously follow the space, which is what we will do here on China Update. China could, and likely is, simply experiencing an especially nasty winter flu season. Not uncommon and not surprising considering the large number of folks with weak natural immunity caused by years of zero COVID isolation. Or we could be witnessing something much more serious and concerning. For now, we take a cautionary wait-and-see approach. We note what is being reported, but we take it with a big grain of salt. What do we know? HMPV is a respiratory virus causing upper and lower respiratory infections similar to a cold or flu. It is a seasonal virus, often seen in winter and early spring, much like RSV. First identified in 2001, evidence suggests its presence since at least 1958. MVPV shares several characteristics with SARS-CoV-2 virus. Both viruses affect people of all ages but pose a high risk to children, the elderly, and those with weakened immune systems. Common symptoms include cough, fever, nasal congestion, and shortness of breath, mirroring COVID-19 symptoms, and both spread through respiratory droplets, close contact, and touching contaminated surfaces. Currently, there is no vaccine for HMPV. Its prevention focuses on hygiene practices, including hand washing and avoiding contact with infected individuals. While HMPV is not new, its resurgence underscores the need for vigilance, especially during peak seasons. Experts stress that understanding and monitoring such viruses is critical to preventing future health crises. China's foreign ministry and state media today have both come out and said that this is all the country is dealing with, that they're seeing higher than usual levels of flu this season, and that everything is under control. Of course, much of the world will not take Beijing's word at face value like this. We will continue to follow this space very carefully. Meanwhile, and on this theme, just this week, the World Health Organization called on China to share crucial data to help uncover the origins of COVID-19, 5 years after the virus first emerged in Wuhan. On December 31st, 2019, WHO China's office reported a cluster of viral pneumonia cases in Wuhan, leading to the city's lockdown weeks later. By then, the virus had already spread globally, triggering a pandemic that claimed millions of lives. While the world has moved on from pandemic restrictions, the origins of the virus remain unclear. Theories range from a natural animal spillover at Wuhan's wet market to a lab leak, a hypothesis once dismissed but now considered plausible by some researchers. Indeed, last month, a US congressional report concluded that this was the likely explanation. However, China's reluctance to provide transparent access to raw data has hampered investigations. In its statement this week, the WHO expressed, quote, "We continue to call on China to share data and access so we can understand the origins of COVID-19, end quote, labeling this effort a, quote, moral and scientific imperative, end quote. China has defended its actions, with Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning asserting that the country has made significant contributions to global research. However, WHO officials have criticized China's limited data sharing, deeming it, quote, inexcusable, end quote. Okay, that is part one down. Next up, we move to US-China relations. But just quickly, if you're getting some value from today's episode of China Update, don't forget to hit the like button. Liking, sharing, and subscribing is a tremendous help for the channel. The only way to see the channel grow is to keep the algorithm happy. Patreon and Buy Me a Coffee links are also in the description below for those who want to help keep the channel financially sustainable. I rely primarily on your support, subscriber support, to keep going, so this is a big help too. Next up, a growing number of US government agencies, political figures, and critical service providers have reportedly fallen victim to Chinese state-sponsored cyber attacks, highlighting a persistent and escalating threat for Washington. The latest breach, disclosed by the US Treasury Department, involved Chinese hackers exploiting a third-party provider to access unclassified documents, marking another alarming incident in a series of high-profile attacks. Cybersecurity experts have reportedly flagged to China as, quote, the most active and persistent cyber threat, end quote, to the US government, private sector, and critical infrastructure networks. While Russia often garners attention for its disruptive cyber attacks, experts like Adam Siegel of the Council of Foreign Relations warn that China poses a longer-term threat due to its technological sophistication and expansive operations. China denies the accusations, with its foreign ministry labeling them as politically motivated disinformation. However, US officials have ramped up criticism, citing a widening scope of Chinese cyber activities. Recent revelations include a spying campaign targeting major telecommunications firms like AT&T and Verizon, which compromise communications involving prominent political figures including Donald Trump, Kamala Harris, and J.D. Vance. China's cyber operations have evolved significantly over the past decade, shifting from stealing vast troves of personal data, such as the Office of Personnel Management hack, to targeting critical infrastructure. Analysts suggest that these breaches aim to position China for disruptive attacks during crises or conflicts with the US. The country's growing capabilities are bolstered by an extensive talent pipeline and investments in world-class cybersecurity education. As Dakota Carey of Sentinel-1 explains, quote, China now has many more hackers, allowing the state to carry out more attacks against a wider array of targets, end quote. Experts caution that many cyber intrusions remain undetected. Industries such as finance, energy, and water are particularly vulnerable, with malicious code often laying dormant, ready for activation in the event of geopolitical tensions. The escalating cyber arms race underscores the urgency of strengthening defenses on both sides of the Pacific. Okay, that is today's episode of China Update. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Have a good weekend. Have a restful Sunday. And I will see you all tomorrow.